it's called Dalentarth, and more or less a slightly more friendly place than some of the later regions that you see, although, as you can see, you're already getting attacked.
And obviously, he's wrecking shop because he's level 29 or 30. He only gets 1 experience point for killing that enemy because it scales. So the combat will become, I think, more impressive once we go to the eastern side of the map.
Give us the gist of it. If any viewers, aren't really familiar with what Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning is.
Okay, it's basically it's a Western style RPG. Obviously, it's in third person, and it's heavily fantasy themed. The story is written by R.A. Salvatore, who's a very prolific New York Times bestseller in the fantasy genre. I think he has 22 bestsellers. So obviously the pedigree of his writing is well established. The hallmark, as you're going to see in my review of the game, is the game's combat. I think that I'm a huge fan of Western RPGs. I love playing games like Skyrim and Fallout, Mass Effect, but I think a lot of people have complaints that maybe the combat doesn't quite live up to the lofty heights set by the game's setting or the story or whatever. What's great about this game is that the combat is the best part of the game, and so I think that it's going to pull in not only RPG fans but also fans of action games. It almost feels like God of War in a sense or something like that. I mean, it's very good.
I would add that the combat's really very accessible at the same time. It's got depth, but really the amount of kind of athletic controller that you have to do is, it's reasonable.
Indeed, and what's cool is, the deep character customization is something that I think is really going to draw people in as well, because you're not tied to the decisions you make or the builds you make in your character. You can actually reestablish your character strength and weaknesses at any time in the game just by paying characters called Fate Weavers to give you all your skill points back that you earn when you level up. So if you're playing as a mage and halfway through the game you want to play as a thief, then that's totally possible, and you can do that within a matter of minutes.
And what sort of character are we playing as here?
So my particular character is, I would say 2/3 warrior, 1/3 thief. He uses longswords. You can see it on his back. You can see the ability tree here. Obviously, might is associated with warriors. Finesse is associated with thieves, and sorcery is associated with mages. And you can combine all the skill points you get into a permutation that best suits you. So you can have a character that uses longswords, and like my character also uses daggers to backstab. But you could have a thief that maybe uses magic, or a warrior that's just totally a warrior that uses heavy hammers and heavy swords and really packs a lot of punch. So that's really one of the most satisfying parts of the game, is that you're never making a decision when you're leveling your character up and you're wondering, is this the right decision to make? Because it's really not super consequential. You can always fix it later.
Well, we have a few copies of Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning to give away. In order to win a copy, all you need to do is tweet us at IGN with hashtag Amalur. Send us questions, send us what you want to know about the game, just like Brent McQuay did. He wants to know how many cities and towns are there in the game.
Oh, I mean, that's a good question. There are, I would say that each continent, I don't know if you would call them, or each territory probably has 1 or 2 major cities each, and there are a handful of really large cities, such as where the Summer Court is and Melsenshir. There's a few cities you're going to run into that are quite expansive, and then there's plenty of little villages, encampments, things of this nature. So you're going to find plenty to explore. If you were to compare it to maybe a game like New Vegas, I think that there's probably going to be many more friendly locales for you to explore, as well as dangerous territories.
AE Canada 12 asks, will there be a New Game Plus option once the game is finished?
I didn't see a New Game Plus option when I finished the game. What it basically lets you do, though, is a major complaint people had with games like Fallout 3, which is one of my favorite games of your generation, is that once you beat it, it's done, and if you didn't have an old save, you couldn't kind of do the things you wanted to finish. So I think that maybe Amalur's version of New Game Plus is just to kind of throw you back into the world and let you finish everything that you didn't get to do. So you're not tied to only the main story. You can do the side quests, and there are 5 guild quests as well that are very lengthy that you can go back and finish as well.
So we're seeing a lot of combat here. Are there still quests around here that we could take on?
Probably not around here. If you want to jump to the map and go, I don't know, let's go down here. We go to any of these places, like maybe the mining town here in the Red Marches. Isn't that
which one?
Gillette? Yeah, I think is that the place? Maybe go down to the Hollowlands here. One of these places is like a real town, right? Yeah, just go to the Overlook Camp. There's definitely
start there.
There's definitely, so when you're playing the game, you'll find you can talk to a lot of different people, and a lot of people will have a lot of dialogue and things to say to you. But you could and you will find plenty of people with yellow exclamation points over their heads, and they'll be immediately visible, and you'll be able to tell who they are. And those are the guys that will give you side quests. So what's cool too is that if you actually go back to the map real quick, and you press triangle, you can see like up there to the north. There's a couple exclamation points, and so you can go to those guys, and those guys will give you side quests that they'll solicit you to help them. So we can run over there and kind of kill some enemies in the meantime.
And what the red dots are, the enemies?
Yeah, the red dots are the enemies, and they'll be identified in the specific region you're in. So you won't be able to see where enemies and side quests are throughout the entire map, but you'll be able to see them where they are in your direct vicinity, which is cool. And this particular section is the desert area of Amalur, so you can already kind of see some of the geographical diversity that's in the game, which is really nice.
What are these enemies we're seeing here?
Do you want to explain?
The Sons of Laz. So these are undead. If you can tell by their sound at the very least. And Amalur, as a kind of world, is sort of a world in crisis. There's a war going on, and magic is sort of once again on the rise, and a lot of kind of twisted things are happening. And one of them is zombies, and you'll find out sort of why that is. Play the game.
The pesky thing about fighting those Sons of Laz that I've realized, especially as I got deeper into the game and they got more powerful, is that you can't really stagger them when you're fighting them. So if they're about to attack you or are already preparing to attack you, no matter how many times you hit them, they will still swing at you. So you have to be very defensive when you're fighting them, especially the stronger ones.
Lots of shields, lots of rolling around.
So you gave us just a hint of what the overall story arc for Reckoning is there. Can you tell us anything more about it? Like what the overall conflict is in this game?
Yeah, do you want to explain?
Well, there's like I said, a war is going on. Traditionally in Amalur, maybe I'll let you drive for a second.
Sure.
Traditionally in Amalur, yeah, it is actually. Traditionally in Amalur, men and elves have lived side by side with this race of immortal beings known as the Fae. That is until quite recently, a particular Fae, a fellow by the name of Gadflow, declared the birth of a strange new god who lives under a mountain, and he's since then he's been waging war on the mortal races, and of course, if you're a mortal race going up against this race that of people that can be reborn, you're at a distinct disadvantage. So, a lot of the kind of main quest focuses on discovering all the mysteries of Gadflow and what your particular role was before you were reborn.
Colin, I saw you harvested a flower there.
I did.
What can you do with those?
So when you'll see one here, you'll see lots of like plants in the wild. There's plenty of them. There's two in the background there too. And when you harvest the different items called reagents, you'll be able to use your alchemy skill to make new items and potions, which is pretty cool. So my alchemy skill is moderate, so I am successfully getting reagents. But as you see there, I didn't find any reagents when I went after that crop or whatever. So in the beginning of the game, you'll be kind of frustrated because you'll be examining all these plants, won't be getting anything. But as you dump skill points into alchemy, you'll find that it's actually quite rewarding and fun to be able to create your own potions. And we'll do that in a little bit.
Gaming Dude 47 asks, can someone new to RPGs play this game?
In my opinion, I think it's accessible in terms of gameplay.
Terrible Fae along the
Oh, what's this guy say?
Horrible Fae.
So I think what people will find is that there's a lot of different options. There's plenty of dialogue options. If you really want to sit there and talk to everyone, you're going to be really busy because everyone has a lot to say. That the story is super fleshed out. So we'll talk to this guy for a minute. But to answer his question, I think that accessibility in terms of gameplay is definitely there. I think that the game could be, you could play it somewhat like a button masher, except for you're going to kind of get your ass kicked later in the game if you do that. So to let you kind of ease you into it. But I think as far as like the fantasy RPG elements of it, I think that if you're not into that, if you're not into fantasy settings, role-playing games, Western role-playing games, I'm not sure that the game's going to do it for you, even if the gameplay is really good.
I see.
So I think it's still very much catered towards the role-playing game fan. But I think that people are going to find plenty to like with the options as well.
Yes, and find out what's wrong. Now that I've found it, and I've no desire
So this guy
to
Answer is giving us a side quest I didn't do.
There were boggarts, lots of boggarts. And I think I saw a thresh. I was rather too busy running to note the particulars.
One of the things I really dig about the game too is the voice acting. I think the voice acting is really, really nice. It sounds sincere, and I think it goes, in some games you kind of can sense like, oh, you heard this voice actor do this other character 10 minutes ago or whatever. You don't hear, obviously they're going to have the same voice actors doing different voices, but it's not quite as obvious, and I think that's
not
pretty
as obvious
cool.
as it is in Skyrim.
Yeah,
where
Skyrim
there's
is
like 5 people, the same 5 people in every town.
Yeah, it's definitely leaps and bounds ahead of that in terms of voice acting. And I think the voice acting is really well executed. And I also really liked, and I talked to EA about this in 38 in the past, was I really liked the fact that there's choices in the dialogue, and you can kind of take your own paths, but you're not really. There's not like a morality system, so there's not like crazy consequence. There's a place for those kinds of games, and I like those kinds of games, but you're never locked out from a quest because of a choice you make, which I think is cool.
To the Canyon Hill site at the top of the ledge.
I'm seeing different like dialogue options here. Sometimes they're just in a list, and then there's the circle. Well, what's the difference?
So I think, at the beginning, like here, you're just kind of soliciting information from him, so you don't really have to talk to him. Where the question mark is really what you needed to know to do the quest. Everything else is kind of, ancillary to the quest or whatever, but you can learn more about the mining operation here or the caverns nearby or whatever if you want to kind of garner more information. But then when he kind of asks you to do something or solicits you for information, then you have choices to make.
Yeah, you can decide whether or not to accept it. You can ask him more kind of questions about what it is that he's wants you to do.
So we're doing this quest now, and I'll show, if we go to the quest screen here, you'll see that your side quests are kind of lined up here. And you'll have main quests. Obviously, there are no main quests left because I beat them all. So this quest is selected, and then it kind of shows you where to go. And then if you go to the map, more generally, you can kind of see where you need to be, and it's this circle here. So we're like right on top of it.
Viewers, if you have questions about Reckoning, tweet them at IGN with hashtag Amalur, and that automatically enters you to win a copy of the game. We've got one copy for Xbox, 1 for PS3, and 3 Origin codes for PC. So we'll start giving those out soon.
Oh man, I gotta change that.
Yeah, sorry guys, I'm a weird inverted player.
No, I am too.
People have religion on this.
Yeah, I don't think we're weird at all. I feel totally normal when I play that way.
When I always go to press events, I always like playing a shooter or whatever, then you walk up and watch the next guy get there, and he's like running around looking at the ceiling.
Oh, yeah. I'm always screwed when I can't change when the ability to change hasn't been added to the game yet.
So that's a cool example, I guess, of the diversity in combat in the game. Even though my guy's a warrior and he has points dumped into the thievery, he still has spells at his disposal. And they're not very strong, but they're great to stagger enemies and do some extra damage, especially if an enemy is weak, in that case, to earth attacks.
What can you do as a thief in this game?
So, the typical stuff, you can pickpocket enemies if you can sneak behind them. You can obviously sneak around and get around enemies. My favorite thing to do, and we'll do it probably in the caverns when we go in there for the side quest, is backstabbing. And my backstabbing ability is ridiculously strong. And it's a lot of fun, and it's a way to kind of sneak around stronger enemies and deal massive damage. So you're going to have the best of all worlds, which I think is super satisfying.
David, Joey Diaz Jr. is wondering, what was the inspiration for the art style in Kingdoms of Amalur?
I can't necessarily speak for Todd McFarlane, but certainly a lot of the inspiration comes from his art style and from his direction in the product. And I think you can kind of certainly see it right with like the kind of contour of this armor here. I think it has a very much a McFarlane-esque kind of tone to it. I think really the team was looking to kind of carve out a sort of very unique visual space of their own. A lot of games are going for a kind of dark, gritty sort of feel. This one has a much more kind of magical feeling, and I think that really that's a reflection of a lot of the plot. Because this is a world where magic is once again on the rise, and so I think the art style is very much meant to reflect what the narrative is.
And just as an aside, you can see that the character is getting slowed down because he's getting hit with ice magic. So it's doing damage, but it's also slowing down your movements, which is cool.
And you see, I can use like nice spells like that to stun the enemies and then go and take care of them with a knife.
Another, come to steal the light, come to trouble the reverie. They are my friends, drawn here as I drift between the dream world and the world of the waking. The light, source of solace, snuck in, sharp knives, soft feet, stole the jewel from my side. Took it northward, through the narrow rocks, to their village of wood and cloth.
Colin, Josiah Renauden asks, does Kingdoms of Amalur feel like an MMO, or is it a more focused experience?
I mean, I'm not an MMO player, so I can't really speak to that. I think that it probably even aesthetically has an MMO quality to it, as in terms of obviously the fantasy setting that a lot of MMO gamers enjoy, the third-person perspective, etc. But that's not really a question I can answer because those aren't games I play. Maybe David has thoughts on that.
No, I'm not necessarily the deepest MMO player either, so probably don't actually have a good answer for that.
I mean, to me, the game, like I said before, the game appeals, I think, most to those who like Western console RPGs. Mm-hmm. I think that it's very much in that vein. I think you're gonna if you enjoy Dragon Age, if you enjoy Mass Effect, etc. I think you're probably gonna this is probably gonna be a game that's up your alley.
Nick Machete is wondering if as much of the game is explored as possible, can gamers obtain all of the abilities?
I don't think so because I was actually doing the math. My character isn't max level, but we were doing the math based on the amount of ability points you would get. You get 3 ability points for every level you get. There are 40 levels, so that's 120 points. But I think the max for each, there's might, finesse, and sorcery, and I think it's like 110 or 112 points per. So I don't think you can get all the abilities. I think you have to make choices. And part of the choice making is with destiny cards and the destinies that you set out for yourself. And I don't think that there's any way for you to see David, correct me if I'm wrong, but we can't see the sorcery or we can't really see all of the leveling up stuff like the abilities and stuff until you level up, right?
Right. So what we could do though is go to a Fate Weaver, and we could reapportion all of those ability points and basically create a new character class and unlock different destinies and really experience all the abilities that we want.
We're going to start giving away copies of the game here very shortly. Just keep in mind you must be a US resident to win, but tweet your questions at IGN with hashtag Amalur, and that will automatically enter you. Dead147 asks, Colin, what is your favorite thing about Amalur?
I think the best part about the game is the combat because it was so unexpectedly good. I think we've kind of become accustomed as RPG fans to have, kind of different or unique role-playing experiences in terms of combat, and sometimes we forgive some shortcomings in combat in great games because the game itself is so good. So, example I use in the written review that will go up in a couple hours is, in a game like Fallout 3 in New Vegas, you have VATS, which is really just an excuse for probably some clumsy combat, and we kind of forgive it because the game is so good.
I also think VATS is fun to use.
It is fun. It is fun to use, but I think that, and it totally fits within that post-apocalyptic but futuristic setting that Fallout's all about. But you can't really play the game like a shooter. You can't really play the game like a hack and slash or an action game because it's just really not possible mechanically. But we forgive that because Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas were just so good and the world was so fun to explore and there were so many great things to do. The cool thing about Amalur, I think, is that the world is fun to explore and there are fun things to do, of course, but that the combat's fun too. So it's very action-oriented. It's almost arcadey in a sense. So I think that the strongest part of the game, I think, is really that action-oriented combat that you really don't find in a lot of games like this, if any.
Yeah, I mean, action RPG is sort of, it's not a huge genre anymore, like back in the 16-bit days when we had like Secret of Mana, and games like that.
Right, or I even think about, a game I think about a lot, even though they're not really, they're not similar, but the game that kept coming to mind is the PlayStation game Brave Fencer Musashi, which was a great action RPG, and you're right, you just don't see those kinds of games anymore, and even the games that do action-oriented RPGs aren't this deep and this big. Yeah. So this is kind of the best of both worlds, I think, and that's really what stuck up on me and surprised me about the game.
You've got Fable, but that's the only other example I can think of off the top of my head.
A lot of people compare this game to Fable, not a series I have experience with, so I can't speak to it. But I've definitely, in the comments we did the review in progress over 3 weeks. We had over 2,500 comments. A lot of people were saying that this is very Fable-like for them, and that seems like a positive thing to them.
C. Nidham is wondering how interesting are the side quests compared to other games?
So I think the side quests are fun. I mean, there's fetch quests and you're helping people and stuff. I don't really think the game does anything extraordinarily new in terms of quest types. But I think that's the kind of the bread and butter of these kinds of games anyway. And people like fetch quests. People like going and fighting the boss in the cavern. People go, like finding the potion to heal this guy. But I don't think you're going to find anything super unique or super dynamic in terms of quests or quest structures. That I think if you just played Skyrim in the fall, then I think you're going to find pretty similar stuff to what you found in that game.
Do we want to go to a different spot?
Yeah, sure. Let's jump around.
Try some different regions.
The plains.
Yeah, the plains are actually
super impressive. Actually, yeah, maybe we can teleport near Rathier because I just love the way the castle looks in the distance. It's beautiful. Reminds me of Castlevania a little bit, actually.
Ooh, there you go. I know you're a Castlevania fan.
I am.
C. Nidham also asks, how wide is the variety of monsters and bosses?
There's over 50 monsters, and then a number of varieties of human-type opponents too. So it's a big number.
What are the boss encounters like in this game?
They're similar in play to the way the regular battles go, but they're boss battles because they actually have special health bars on the screen, and they're actually obviously more challenging. You're gonna have to use some of your special powers, all those potions you've been hoarding, you're gonna have to use and stuff like that. But they play exactly the same way, and they happen immediately, and you don't really realize you're fighting a boss sometimes until the meter appears on screen, and then you realize who you're fighting. So we're here in Rathier now. In this location, this is kind of a plains area. This is the castle I was talking about with that tower, that turret kind of hanging off, very Castlevania-like.
I'll get us over there.
So this is actually I think, a stunning looking area. I just love the way that looks in the distance. It's beautiful. This is a really cool area. This is a really, probably I would say the first really big city you encounter. You'll find plenty of side quests and things to do in the town. You already see an exclamation point here on the HUD, right here, up and to the left. You can solicit a side quest immediately if you want. And then, of course, you see all these other things popping up on the HUD. The white arrows, of course, are people that you can speak to. But then the doors are different buildings you can go into. And then the little icons that you see, like the hammer, is where you can blacksmith and et cetera and so on. So you can shop and do all those things.
Go to one of those, huh? I think there's one right here.
City Watch.
Well, our first copy of Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning is going to viewer BG Radio, who asks, are there a large number of matching armor weapon sets to collect in the game?
There are. You'll find, what's really cool is that, actually, can we go to the menu real quick because I have matching armor on right now. Yeah.
So there's like over 60 armor sets, and so actually if you broke that down into the individual armor pieces, it's some ridiculous number.
Yeah, it's cool. I guess this is a bit spoilerish because you get these really late in the game. But you'll see that I have yellow gear for my head, my chest, my hands and stuff. That means that they're part of a set. And if you have all of them, it says set 5 of 5, then you get all. So above the set 5 of 5 is what you get if you just have it equipped. But if you have all of them, then you get all of these extra perks. And those perks build, so if it says like 3 of 5, then you get some of the perks. If you have 4 or 5 and so on and so forth. The fact that I have all of them means that I have the greatest set of perks and you can see my defense is huge. It's over, if you see in the upper right corner, it's over 1,000. So I'm doing pretty well. So yeah, there are plenty of sets to find. They're not all easy to find. You're gonna have to do some searching to find them. And of course you can mix and match to your heart's content as well.
BG Radio also asks, are there storage options for all your loot?
There are. You can obviously sell everything. If I go back to the menu, you can see that I've sold an exorbitant amount of stuff because I have 1.2 million gold pieces. You'll find a house that you can, I won't spoil it, but you'll find a house very similar to Skyrim where you can store your things. And there are more treasure chests that you'll find later on there where you can kind of store your gear. But you'll find that you're going to be selling a lot of your stuff too because you're going to need the cash. So here we'll show you the blacksmithing forge. Something I haven't really done because I don't have many points in the blacksmithing at all. But you can see that you can create different kinds of weapons and armor and whatever you want depending on the gear you have. And you find components as you play the game that will let you kind of combine them and create something special. So if I wanted to make just a basic staff or a scepter or a Feyblade, I can do that. And as I unlock more blacksmithing skills, which I haven't done, then these little padlocks will become unlocked, and I'll be able to add more components to create stronger items. So that's pretty cool. And you can see, you can talk to, this guy's just kind of looking at some. Sorry, I have to invert again, guys.
Yes.
We're gonna have this more throughout
Go
this
back and
entire
forth all
thing.
the time.
There we go.
Well, BT Radio, for your great questions, you have won yourself an origin code for Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning on PC. Viewers, if you have your own questions, tweet them at IGN with the hashtag Amalur. That enters you to win a copy of the game. It's so easy.
It's almost too easy.
Let's do a question from Comlestat6666. He says, I'm intrigued by the lore. Will there be books released to learn more about it?
Oh, wow. Actually, don't know the answer to that question and whether or not it's even being planned. It's a good question.
Stay tuned.
There's certainly a lot of lore
Do not
within the
make
game
me
itself.
aggressive
So there are
anymore.
these things called lore stones that you can approach, and they will tell you different things about the history of the region and things, personalities.
Yeah. So dark in here.
Yeah, it is. Nighttime gets dark.
Indeed.
Maybe we
Should we wait?
head back out to the plains? I
Yeah.
don't think we just want to wait.
Well, I mean, we can do the in-game wait, right?
Oh, yeah, we could do it.
Do NPCs have their own homes that they go to at night?
Oh, like routines like they do in Skyrim?
Yeah.
I didn't notice, I mean, people go and they sleep in their beds and stuff like that, but I didn't notice anything like too hardcore about
They have their schedules for sure.
There's the castle in the distance again. I love it. It's so ominous and I just I dig it. So yeah, we're back in the plains. This is probably my favorite part of the game, section of the game actually. I think it's stunning. And there's some cool enemies around here as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of things roaming around the plains of Eretho.
So I can backstab this wolf.
Yeah.
He
You
had
gotta be good to sneak up on a wolf.
He had it coming. Let's see if it works. He's walking, so I don't know if it's
Oh, he never even saw it.
just demolish him.
There's some
That was
very
cool.
elaborate stealth kills too. Maybe if we find some Jotun or some other creatures wandering around here that are bigger, some of those stealth kills are very nice scripted payoffs for what you're doing.
I like that your weapons show up on your character that you have equipped.
Yeah, it's
That's
cool.
nice.
Oh wait, there's a big guy over here, and he's got his back turned conveniently. Oh, shh.
Oh yeah, only all these. Oh man, you are good.
Whoa.
There you are.
Man.
Just brutalizing her, and no one else realizes.
Yeah, you
I'm
put a
so
lot of
silent.
points into this, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. He sees
Oh,
me.
no, he got you.
The John.
Oh,
I can try to run away and see if I can.
yeah, you might. Yeah, maybe try
Oh, there's
that.
two of them. Oh god,
Oh,
everyone sees me. Run away!
if you had just a little bit more reckoning points, then you could unleash that.
Oh yeah, we can try. Actually, if I
If
kill
you
some
kill one of these
yeah.
guys, you'll probably get enough threads of fate, and then you can do it. It's a good thing to show people.
What happens when you die in this game?
You restart from the last save.
Can you save at any point?
Yep, you can save at any point, and what's cool too is obviously the game auto saves often and unexpectedly. So if you make mistakes, you're not necessarily super tethered to them. So I've staggered him, as you can see. So I can get back to him. I'll do. Yeah, so almost. These guys aren't quite as strong as they were when I was level 15.
What's the level cap?
40.
Are you at 40 now?
No, I didn't hit the cap. I still have much. The great thing to do, and something I'm excited about, is that often when we review games, Damien, because we reviewed so many games, is we're often ready to move on to the next game, right? You spend a lot of time with the game, you want to move on to the next game, we got other things to do. Obviously for me as a PlayStation editor, I have Vita launch coming up and we have 8,000 games to review. But I intend on playing this game and seeing it through, even though I'm done with the review, because there's side quests and guild quests and things to do. I want to hit the level cap, I want to max my character out, because it's fun. So there's more to do for sure.
We've got a good question here. Father Leadfoot says, I'm not trying to get you in trouble, Colin, but what was your least favorite thing?
Okay, that's fair. I I don't know. I mean, I think there's like minor technical hiccups that I think were frustrating about the game. I think one thing that I point out in the review when you read it on IGN later is I think the lip syncing is pretty poor in cutscenes, which I think is unimmersive. And I also found that I think the environments look great. I think the main character looks great. I think the combat looks great. I think sometimes when you're talking to characters and you kind of run into some models in particular that just don't live up to the high aesthetics of the environments themselves, and I think there's a contrast there. But with that said, I think that the game really runs well, and I think that's a great testament to the game. The game's huge, but the load times are quick on PlayStation. I haven't played the game on to be fair, I haven't played the game on Xbox or PC yet, so I don't know. I'm speaking only about the PlayStation version of the game. But the game runs great. The load times are great, with the exception of some texture pop in occasionally, some frame rate stutters during heated combat. I think that the game runs extraordinarily well, and I think that kind of makes up, I guess, for some of the aesthetical problems I have.
You mentioned in your review that will be unveiled in just about 90 minutes.
Indeed.
At the end of this live stream, we'll be unveiling Colin's review.
Yep, we'll have the video review ready to go, and then a few minutes after I get back downstairs into my desk, I will publish the written review. So you'll be able to read that as well if you'd like.
Viewers, if you have questions about Reckoning, tweet them at IGN with the hashtag Amalur. Just like Scott Woolley did, can you show or talk about the crafting?
Sure, we can. Yeah, I mean, we showed you a little bit about blacksmithing. I'm just not able to do anything exciting because I don't have points dumped into it, but we could do alchemy.
I'm looking for a place where we might do that.
If we go to what is this town down into the left?
Yeah, it's there's one that has a bunch of them, right?
If you go, go over to the right because that's where your house is, like in Webwood. That's the town in the center.
Right.
Yeah, go there because that's where your stash is, and you can just do everything there. We can do gemstones there too. In fact,
Let's do it all.
let's just do everything.
Let's just live.
You gotta live, man. Of course, if you tuned into the Final Fantasy 13-2 live stream last week, then you'll understand where that joke comes from. Where you just gotta live. So, this is Gossamer End, and you'll be able to, I won't tell you how, and I won't tell you, how it happens, but this is a place you'll be able to call your own. So this is
You're intriguing me. You're hinting about this. This sounds like it's a cool part of the game. I want to find this out for myself, I guess.
This is an alchemy lab, and you'll find these all over the place. But I like coming back to this particular spot because this is your house. This is where you can actually. We were talking about, someone asked earlier, stashes. This is my stash. This is where I have a bunch of my stuff. And so, you're in your house. You can actually go upstairs and sleep and rest.
Can you get a haircut? Is that what the scissors are there?
It's funny you say that because you can. You can basically recustomize your character at a mirror, which I think is upstairs, so we can do that in a second. But this is an alchemy workshop, and I have more points dumped into alchemy. So on the right, you can see my reagent bag, and that's all of the stuff I've collected, all of the plants I've been looting. And I'm surprised anything grows anywhere in Amalur anymore because I've basically taken it all. But these are all the items you can use to create items, and obviously you have difficulty settings for the things so these are all the novice things that I've created. And then if you can move over and have, once you build enough points into alchemy, you can build better items. Of course, you can also just experiment if you want, and that's how you kind of figure things out.
Combine different things.
Yeah, so and
Start the experiment.
yeah. So I got an unstable potion. So what that means, when you fail at alchemy, and you fail often, you'll get an unstable potion, and if you use it at any time, you don't know what's going to happen. So it could be really good or really bad. So I just suggest don't use them. But every so often you kind of just
Colin's pro tip.
Yeah, that's my pro tip for the day. But this kind of is satisfying, and frankly, you can kind of work the system a little bit if you want. Save before you start doing this, and then just start going at it and using your items and see what happens. But as you get better, you'll have these things. Once you learn something, you'll learn it forever, and then you can just select it from here. So we can just make a bunch of healing potions we want. So that's that. And then I think it's in the basement of my creepy little house. We can make gemstones. And Sagecraft is something you do to create gems that can be added to your items to make them stronger. And you find
Shards, as they're called.
Yep, shards. You find different shards in treasure chests or when you kill enemies or whatever, and you can make gems based on the types of shards you found. So if you combine them, you can unlike alchemy, you can actually experiment and it has no consequence here. So it'll tell you what it's going to make. So if I combine a Lament Poison Shard with a Lament Ice Shard, I get a gem that will give me 15% chance to steal 15 health points. And then if I put that into an item by socketing gems, I don't have anything I can socket right now, then that will add that permanently to the gear, which is cool. So it's a nice way to customize everything. And the thing I like to do, another pro tip, is if you go to utility gems, you can create things that, well, and I'm not sure I have the necessary things to do it, but you can create regen shards that are like my favorite kinds of shards. So you can have like +1 or +2 regen to health, so that basically you never need to use potions.
Nice. Lilo124 asks, is the world map open from the beginning?
Yeah, it is. If very much like the Capital Wasteland or whatever, if you can see whatever you want as long as you can survive long enough to see it. But you'll know if you've gone too far. Enemies will have, I think, red names instead of white names if they're way too powerful for you to fight. The thing is there's a trophy or an achievement if you can kill an enemy that I think is 4 levels above you. So it might be worth exploring for some of those trophy hunters out there.
Are there any methods of transportation?
No, there's like no mounts or anything like that. But as you've seen, once you've discovered a location, you can go there automatically and instantaneously. But there's no like mounts or anything like that you can use. This is a cool town. I really like this town.
Which town is this?
This is what is it?
Canrock, right.
This is a town you encounter someone early in the game, and there's a really cool, like you said, I've been hinting at. There's a cool story, and that's how you kind of come into their good graces and get your own place.
And we can tell a little bit about it. So
Sure.
in this case, the town is overrun by giant spiders, and they seem like they're almost some kind of, maybe even in an orderly kind of fashion. So there's a little bit of a plot there, a mystery about where they're coming from. And once you end up clearing them out, then like getting the houses becomes an option. Is that where it happens?
Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, you just basically do favors for this town, and they basically like when you stumble upon the town at first, they're being attacked, and you can ignore them and let them get killed, basically, or you can help them fight these spiders, like it's real time. And if you just continue to do things for them in their good graces, then they become great fans of yours, which is cool.
But it's kind of cool because when you first come across that place, it's full of spiders and webs, and it's quite creepy.
There's a red X on your mini-map?
Oh, I set down a waypoint there.
That's the waypoint, okay.
Yeah, you can take it back off.
Okay. Waypoint. So now we're kind of in the northeast area of the map, and this is somewhat late in the area, so we won't do any like story-related stuff here. But this is another cool. This is kind of to show more of the geographical diversity of the map, which I think is really fun. This is kind of like a swampy, heavily wooded area. That I think contrasts sharply with the early, like more ancient type forests that you encounter early in the game. These are Niskaru hunters. These guys are pains in the ass, especially early in the game. You get better at fighting them later on, but you'll encounter them early, and they'll give you a lot of trouble.
They cause a lot of bleeding damage, so they're particularly nasty.
See if I can do one of my fun. So I like staggering guys with the sword, and then you can try to juggle them by switching your weapons around on enemies. So sometimes Niskaru are a little difficult to do it too, I guess. But you can, I hit triangle a few times to do the dagger, and then you can use your sword with the square button and lift them in the air and then juggle them, which is cool.
And even though the controls are fairly accessible and simple, there's a lot of variety and depth that comes out of that. So Colin can use like delays, for instance, or charge, depending on what the particular weapon is and how you've adjusted your abilities. But you get lots of things where you can attack out of a block or out of a roll, do counters with your shield. There's quite a bit of fun stuff to do.
And you've got different attacks mapped to the face buttons of the controller.
Indeed. So these are like different abilities and spells. So like if you hold down R1 and then press triangle, you can use this button. If you keep pressing triangle, then it keeps going. So I could once it refreshes, just hit triangle once. Oops, someone hit me. If I just hit triangle once, then it's basically 1/3 of the strength of the spell.
Yeah.
And that's based on the mana bar, which is the lowest bar, the sky blue bar.
Is that all customizable? Do you set those the face button attacks?
Yes.
Well, you decide which weapon you're going to apply to your primary weapon and which one to your secondary slot, and then you can map all the spells to the different trigger buttons. the trigger mode.
This rat had gold on him. I don't really understand why that is.
Yeah, well, rats eat a lot of things. Yeah.
Speaking of gold, Adam Sams notices that you have over 1 million gold. Yes. What are the cash?
Shocking.
What are the cash sinks?
Well, I think one of the things in general about the economy in the game is that it's not closed. So you could really rack up an insane amount of money if you want to. It's not like Fallout where, you go to a guy, he has 500 credits or whatever on him, and then that's all he has. Like you don't know how much money a guy has. And I've been selling all my stuff to the same 2 people. Mm-hmm. So basically, I've just taken them for all they're worth. I keep doing that because I want to. I should use help here. I want to be able to go back and buy those things back from them if I need them. But I guess it's kind of cool. Just you're going to need the money, so it's basically just you collect everything you find, and then you'll be able to sell it at will. These guys are a pain. Actually, we can use. Here we go. So this is what they call reckoning mode, right? And you can weaken the enemies. Everything slows down. You do a lot more power or a lot more damage, and then when everyone's killed around you, you can run up. The bars kind of slowly diminishing in the corner. You hit X. You do like a special, brutal combo, and then if you hit the button fast enough, you get experience bonuses.
And so that kind of kill there that he just did, it differs depending on the enemy that you have. So there's quite a bit of fun in just going around and trying that out on all the different types of opponents that you come across.
And don't waste that power either, because
oh yeah, well it's useful too.
it's great. It's great to use strategically, in my opinion. I really found, obviously you want to save it for bosses and things like that, and it makes a lot of boss battles much easier than they should be.
It's a good way to deal with crowds too.
And definitely that, and also a great way to build experience. If you paid attention, we've been making, we've been getting 100, 200, 300, 400 experience for every enemy we kill, but when I killed those 2 guys plus the experience bonus, I got almost 4,000 experience points. So it's a great way to build your levels quickly.
Yeah. I don't know if you mentioned it, but as that timer is going down, though, it's important to try to get as many as you can before it runs out, to maximize that.
Viewers, in a few minutes, we'll be giving away another PC copy of Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. In order to be entered, just tweet us at IGN with hashtag Amalur, and let us know what questions you still have about the game.
So here's if you see in the HUD in the upper right corner, you see like a treasure chest icon. This is directly associated with another skill called Detect Hidden. And when you level that skill up enough, you start to discover things in the environment that don't exist, basically, or people can't see. So when you get close to it, it's probably going to be this log. When you get close to it, your controller will start to shake, and then you'll be able to loot it.
How did you know that? How did you know it was going to be this log?
Because it's a logger of a pile of rocks usually.
Often things like that.
Also, I'm clairvoyant.
I guess so.
But it's nice that it gives you the rumble, though, so that in case you're not watching your mini-mat.
Hakuman001 asks, are bows worth leveling? Says they didn't feel like they paid off in the demo.
Yeah, I mean, I used bows early in the game because part of the tutorial is to teach you how to use a bow, and so you start using it. There are really powerful ones. And it is worth it, especially if you want to, be a distance fighter or whatever. There are a few options for you. I think
there's a couple good. There's some really good moves actually with bow. I'm thinking of one in particular that you do out of a block, and you send down a big volley of arrows down on people. It's pretty nice.
But it's something that, I did make, you don't have to make any choices in the game that you're tied to, like I said, but I did make choices to kind of go, bows are associated with thieves, and I do have thief skills, but I put all my skill points really into daggers for backstabbing or whatever. But you could definitely, I think, be satisfied with, using a bow from a distance. And the other option for distance fighting is chakrams, which are great for mages, which is also another weapon I didn't really explore too thoroughly.
Yeah, the mage discipline certainly does give you a lot of good range attacks, like you might expect. So chakrams and staves are both really awesome.
Colin, CLJ Online wants to know, how many hours have you put into the game so far?
I played the game for about 50 hours. You'll find that the game, the main quest can be beaten in, I think, 25 or 30 hours. But there's so much to do around it that, and like I said, there's so much left for me to do, just in ancillary side quests alone, that I can't imagine that you would get through the game in under 100 or 150 hours. Like I don't see how that would really be possible because there's so much that just in the course of playing and trying to get through the main quest and stuff. There's just some scores and scores of people that I didn't talk to and things that I didn't do. Plus, if we go into the map and or into the quest line, you can see that I have faction quests, these are basically the guild quests. And I did 2 of them, but there are 3 left to do. And these can take
6 in total.
Yeah. There are 6. Well, the one that comes with it, is that the 6th one, the one that comes with the code or whatever with the new version of the game? Or is there one I didn't discover? So anyway, I did 2 of them. I did the one for, I think, the Warsworn, and then the one for the Travelers, but there are other ones too that give you special perks when you finish them. And they can take 6, 7, 8, 10 hours to do each. And then the side quests can take 10 minutes or 30 minutes. Plus you have things down here like tasks, which are basically recurring. You can make money off of people and sell them things and stuff like that. So plenty to do.
CLJ Online also asks, how does the trophy list look?
You want to see it? Because I'll show it to you.
Show it to me.
All right, so I'm going to say this right now to the readers out there. The top of the list are story related. So if you don't want to see them, just look away for.
Just kind of like
look away for,
look at the screen like this.
Look away. I'm just warning you right now. Look away for 15 seconds. All right, I'm selecting it now. So these are the trophies for the. I'll just kind of. Those are the story related ones. This one we think is for beating it on hard.
We think.
Yeah. Because the 1, 2 above it is the one you get for beating the game, so I assume that's what it is.
Got it. Is it just hard and normal? Are there more difficulties?
I think there's easy too. Okay. If you die, I think more than a couple times in a row, I think it actually tells you that you can lower it.
Hey, you suck.
Yeah,
you want to lower the difficulty?
You're pretty bad at this game. I think you probably should lower it. And then these are the trophies. You get silver trophies for the guilds that we were just talking about. So I did the Travelers. The House of Ballads is the one I did. So the ones I didn't do are the House of Sorrows, Scalia Arcana, which is magic based. And then Warsworn is actually the one I didn't finish. And then you have trophies for fate shifting enemies, which is what we just did. We fate shifted 2. If you do 5 or more, then you get this trophy. Niskaru for killing them. This is the one I was telling you about for killing enemies of higher levels. And then et cetera and so on. You get ones for parrying and landing chain attacks, juggling enemies, making potions. So there are a lot of them. My favorite one though, Damon, is a secret one, but it won't appear on your list. It'll say it's hidden. But my favorite one is this one, which I got.
Nice.
You spoke to someone while not wearing clothes, and it's an apt picture of a guy's. It's a picture of his junk, basically.
That's great.
It's a junk shot.
So are you going to platinum it?
It's probably going to require me to play the game again on hard. It's definitely possible, but as you know, the backlog is often growing, and Vita's about to come out.
Sure. But I know how much you love your platinum trophies.
I adore them, in fact.
We're going to give away another PC copy of Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning right now to Beautiful Dust, who asks, how large can the battles get in Amalur?
Really big. I've probably fought, a dozen enemies at a time. And that's unfortunately when some of the slowdown happens, but the games it's still totally manageable, and they get overwhelming, and like David said, that's when you fate shift and use your special powers because you probably will not survive. Of course, if you're getting in trouble, you can always use the D-pad to automatically heal yourself with the healing potions that you have in your inventory, so you don't have to mess around. And you can also map things to L2 if you want to use them quickly as well during battle. But those battles get pretty heated, but generally you're fighting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 enemies at a time. They come in groups, and you can see them together on the HUD. And that's when things get a little tough to try to backstab enemies and things of this nature, since they alert each other. And the AI is pretty clever.
Well, Beautiful Dust, make sure you're following IGN on Twitter so we can DM you your origin code. We still have one more PC copy to give away. We've got a 360 copy and a PlayStation 3 copy of Reckoning to give away. So tweet your questions at IGN, include the hashtag Amalur in there, and that will automatically enter you to win.
Should we get some interior shots, maybe?
Sure. Well, yeah, let's go. That's
to
a
the
good idea.
dungeon?
Yeah, I got it.
Those giant rats look nasty.
Yeah, I guess.
There's probably some dungeons that you haven't been in either.
For sure. Let's see. Let's just go here.
Yeah. Let's pick one.
Rez Rave wants to know, how do the threads of fate work?
As you are engaged in combat and killing folks, you are collecting these threads of fate, and that fills this middle meter that you see here, up in the upper left. And when that maxes out, then you basically are holding down 2 trigger buttons, and you're unleashing the Reckoning mode. And at that point, your speed is not affected, but all your enemies are in kind of a slow motion. It's sort of a bullet time kind of thing, and you are dealing more damage, and the enemies are a lot easier to kill at that point.
See what I can do here.
Nice.
Yeah, I love dumping points into sneaking. It's fun. Should be able to get this guy. Oh, that guy's gonna see me.
So you see the threads of fate there. Probably can see maybe you might be too high level that it's not adding to each one of these dudes.
So Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning is out Tuesday the 7th. Yes.
Yeah.
J. Lloyd L wants to know: will there be DLC or expansions coming later this year?
Can't speak to it.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Kyle the Brick wants to know, what benefits do you get from doing faction quests?
That's a good question. You actually, of course, in a very specific way, you learn more about the story and things of this nature, but when you complete those quests, you get destiny cards that give you permanent stat bonuses, depending on the type of guild that they are, basically. So when I did the Travelers are thieves in the game, and so you get bonuses to thievery-centric statistics. With ballads, it was more, I think, magical based, and so you get things, increases in mana and things of this nature.
You also get some unique armor and weapons in some of those too.
Indeed,
So,
I got a great accessory actually from doing.
if you did House of Ballads,
Yeah.
you should have, right?
Yeah, I got a ring and a shield that I use for a lot, most of the game. I don't use them anymore because I have all the end game stuff now. But oh shit. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, speaking of that, right after this live stream, we're going to have a Twisted Metal live stream. And David Jaffe's going to be on here. And David Jaffe is known to
Curse.
He's known to curse here and there. So we'll see. That could be a very interesting live stream, viewers. You will definitely want to stick around for that.
And let's tease our good friend Greg Miller's show up at noon as well, because there's going to be an interview, a very lengthy and amusing interview with David Jaffe on Monday.
The air will be blue around that interview, you might say. Ghost6986 wonders, are there any drawbacks to using heavy armor?
Not in the set. I didn't really see any movement-based kind of anomalies, but David might be able to speak to that more. I've really only used heavy armor, but he still moves around like very fluidly. He's very fast. I mean, he can run like the wind, Damon. So I don't think that. I think it's based.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't really want to create a sort of negative feedback loop where,
Right.
For a game where action combat is such a primary kind of element, that we sort of tie your hands too much.
Does it affect sneaking?
Not that I know of.
No, that's the other thing too.
You're doing it a lot right here.
Yeah, so I have my heavy armor. It's not. People are, I think, in Skyrim mode with that, which is acceptable, but don't overthink it.
Yeah.
So you should use heavy armor then. Like, why not?
Yeah, I mean, well, you don't want to if you really want to. Like, my guy is not like an amazing thief. If he was in lighter armor and had upgraded daggers and points dumped into finesse and all those destinies unlocked, then no one would be seeing him in this dungeon at this point in the game. So you just got to kind of mix and match. If you want to use the arcane arts, Damon, then you will definitely want to use robes.
Yes.
Just because obviously that's not going to give you a lot of defense, but that's going to boost your magic abilities and power like exponentially. I think we might have cleared this dungeon out. Small little dungeon.
Yeah.
Technot wants to know, do the enemies have some type of difficulty scaling in areas you've already visited?
I wrote about this in the review in progress. It seems like they do. Things definitely scale in terms of the experience and the loot you get from enemies. If you're just beating up on dudes that you fought a few hours into the game and you're 50 hours into the game, you're going to get 1 experience point and probably no loot. But enemies do seem to scale. For instance, you'll definitely run into enemy types that are weaker in some areas than they are in other areas, or stronger in some areas than they are in other areas, even though they're the same.
But it's not like, I wouldn't say it's like, for all my old JRPG nerd friends out there, I wouldn't say it's like Loon or Silver Star Story or something where the enemies literally level up with
Dropping
you.
some classics right there. Super A187 asks, are there any weapons that combine elemental attacks, maybe fire and ice together?
I didn't see any that combined them together, but there are a lot of weapons that definitely
You weren't exploring a lot of sorcery, but a lot of staves, obviously, scepters, chakrams, and in fact, swords and daggers too, and everything. There are versions of things that can do lightning, cold, fire.
And of course, you want to be careful with that kind of stuff because you'll find out enemies have their own strengths and weaknesses, and so you might come in an area like this. These guys are water-based, so they're probably weak to lightning. So if you have, and these, by the way, another Castlevania reference, remind me of Fishman from Castlevania.
I want to see how many more Castlevania references you can
Let's
make.
just do a Castlevania reference every 2 seconds. I'm just gonna murder this guy.
Yeah, do it.
You survived it.
Ah.
Come at me, bro.
These guys are actually kind of bad. They barf up their own little spawn. So those things that he was just fighting, actually, that's what she's hurling out here, are little egg sacs with those. And there she is. So it becomes sort of a critical choice here. Are you gonna You're probably well advised to kill her because she'll just keep doing
They're
that.
born with a weapon in hand, man.
I know, that's crazy. That's genetics.
Yeah.
And I don't think you get experience
In a
for
world
killing
of
these guys either. Once she spawns them. Because you don't.
Okay.
Because I remember
I actually hadn't noticed.
I remember sitting here, like the RPG nerd I am, and trying to let her spawn as many of them as possible. And then I was like, this is a great place to farm. And then I realized I wasn't getting experience. So they thought of that at 38. They're too smart for me.
Well, we are an hour into our Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning live stream. If you have any questions, remember to tweet them at IGN with hashtag Amalur. That enters you to win a copy of the game. And in an hour, Colin will be unveiling his early review of the game.
We were talking about charge attacks before. I have. I can't go.
Oh yeah, you gotta. Those guys with the spears are really nasty
They're running away.
for a charge attack.
That's probably the right idea, guys. I'm coming at you. They were very aggressive, and now they don't want any part of me anymore.
Now that, yeah.
Well, they saw what kind of armor you're wearing.
You're running up on
Figured.
it.
There we go.
So now charge.
So you can go right through them or whatever, basically stun them,
Yeah.
and then get a back attack on them if you're quick
Yeah,
enough.
that actually does damage, and as I'm not sure, can you do it multiple times yet?
No, I don't think I
So
leveled
if you
it up.
level up enough with that particular move, then you can actually do several sort of passes through multiple guys. It's very handy.
Be Easy is wondering if you can show some different high-level armor.
I could. I'd have to go buy it back. Let's see. Let's see what I have in my inventory. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, I guess this is actually all the stuff I already had equipped.
We might have picked up a little bit during the course of this. I'm not sure.
This is,
There's a piece of azurite.
This is much weaker than what we have, but let's see what this looks like. Oh, I don't have enough finesse. So that's another thing, is you'll see the requirements for items that you have. And if something appears in red, like for finesse 36, it means I don't have 36 in finesse and therefore can't equip it. So it's useless to me.
So how does finesse work in the game?
Finesse is basically...
One of the three disciplines?
Yeah, it's thievery based. So you go here, and you can see like the things I have in finesse, but I only have 28 points dumped into finesse. You get 3 points every time you level up, so you can dump them. And I've been dumping them, as you can see, somewhat a little more than 3 to 1.
So you can also see somebody was asking about the bow kind of leveling right there, going straight up that tree.
Yep, so here's like the longbow, and obviously if you go down, it says next level, will give you +2 physical bow damage, and
And you start unlocking these different abilities off it.
then you go up. I just haven't dumped anything into them. You have things with Fey Blades too, which is something I don't really use. But then you have
We can
special
arm them,
abilities.
though.
Huh?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, please.
Oh, I was just gonna say we could arm them and just show what they look like.
Sure. I'm just gonna go buy. I'm gonna go to a store and just buy a bunch of stuff I sold.
You've got 1 million gold.
I'm gonna go to the store I'm gonna spoil it and just go to this place I always go to sell my things.
Colin, when I play the game, I think I might reverse the way you distributed finesse and might points.
So you'd be like thief warrior instead of warrior thief. Yeah, I like that. It's cool. I mean, and Dan, I mean, that's what's so fun about it is you you're not locked into it. You know, like you just pay a Fate Weaver. We'll do that before this is over. Pay a Fate Weaver and just have all of our points removed.
That's cool.
And then you can try again.
There's a question here. This is K Tweet Hayes. Can you play as a female character?
You can.
Yeah, male and female. And there's 4 different races. 2 of them are human, 2 of them are elves. So a little bit of variety there.
Does it change the story at all?
The things to
It does
repair,
not change the story as far as I know.
Fiona for that.
So let's see. This is all the stuff he has selling new, but he probably has 8 million things that I've sold to him. So let's see. Oh, yeah, I guess he only keeps 50 at a time. So let's see. This is shock.